Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's David Palmer, Leo King, and this is my show, Deep Astrology, where I am covering all the astrology for the week of February the 5th through the 11th of 2019. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. I know usually I'm in the studio, but as I did a live yesterday, I've been kind of just taking a couple days off here to kind of reset my energy. This new moon and this big eclipse cycle that we've been through for the last month has been pretty intense, I think, for all of us, and for myself, I've just been needing to take a little bit of time to decompress. I haven't had one moment yet. So these have been the days. But this deep astrology is going to be pretty similar, except we're not going to be in the studio. We're not going to have all the cameras and the lighting and change cameras, but I will be able to show you all the charts. And we got a lot of things to talk about this week to start things off with first. The first thing is, this week we are coming off the new moon, and this is a good time because we have this waxing moon, but it's going through some of the last bit of the weirdest energy we're going to talk about and show you in the charts this week. The moon's going to come into Pisces, where of course Neptune and Chiron is, right? And especially with Chiron at these last degrees of Pisces, this is going to be the last time the moon will cross over Chiron and Pisces at the last degree for 50 years. So this is going to start the week off with us still feeling really drifty and, things kind of still being a little off, I guess you could say, or not truly fully in alignment that we don't understand. There could be still some confusion, even though there's this massive clarity that's kind of taking place. So there's a little bit of this dichotomy going on of like seeing the future, but still having to learn to go with the flow and really having to surrender a lot. And it can be tiring. The end of Chiron and Pisces can definitely be a tiring situation. And we're going to start with the moon covering this space. Now, there's some good news as the moon's going to be going through this odd space as the sun will sextile over to Jupiter. And this is where I think this is really positive. With Jupiter in Sagittarius, its home sign, the sun in Aquarius here, both these signs are all about optimism, the future, and looking for, a better path. And so it's definitely going to be much more futuristic based this week and starting to, see that. But I think that it's going to take us until the weekend to really get that momentum going. Just because when the moon comes into Aries, there we are going to see Mars and Uranus coming in a close conjunction point. And I'll show you that all this in the chart. And what that really means is, be easy on yourself this week. You see the future. You see where things are going. Jupiter in sextile is really good. It's going to be opening up a lot of doors. There's a lot of optimism and there's a lot of positive directions in the way that things are going. But you and your ability to really capitalize on them is taking a minute, right? There's a lot of pieces to the puzzle right now, especially since we just had a new moon in Aquarius. We're in Aquarius, which is trying to figure out the puzzle, trying to figure out all the pieces, trying to understand how this is all going to come together. And it's exciting, especially with Jupiter. But Chiron here at Pisces at the end definitely kind of feels like I'm beat. I don't know. We have gone through a wipeout. It's what I'm calling it, especially with Chiron at the end of Pisces. But even more importantly, this new moon was semi-square Chiron. This new moon was semi-square Venus. Remember, Venus is now in Capricorn, so we want to make things happen. We want to get things done. But, we are in this waxing phase of the moon here with the sun in Aquarius at its detriment, trying to make all the pieces understood before we could really jump. But here's Mars at the end of Aries now coming, and it's going to square the nodes this week. And so in order for us to achieve and reach where we want to go, there's this other part of we have to take care of our own self. We have to emotionally be in the right place. So this is a big week of getting ready. And I had mentioned in the live last night that I feel that not only is this getting ready energy important, but this is the last time we are going to see a sextile from an Aquarius sun to Jupiter in Sagittarius, and especially with Mars, which is in its home sign, and Saturn in its home sign, and Neptune in its home sign in our lives. So, when it talks about really, being able to have the freedom to really open up the door in your life and wherever you want to go, this is that time. And so I don't want people to think, that, if I missed this boat, somebody had wrote down on my live yesterday, in a comment like, oh, we never miss the boat and anything. And like, you're right. There's always lots of boats around. But I'm just telling you that this is the opportunities for some of the best boats of your life to take in your world. And especially with Chiron here at the end of Pisces, it could feel like, I don't know if I even want to get on any boat, or I just don't want to do anything. And that's the whole point, is like, it is not easy to kind of surrender to taking action and to opening up the doors to the future that you want to go. It's not easy. And especially as Mars is on its final week here being in Aries, and Mars is going to conjunct Uranus. This is pretty big deal coming into this weekend, because this is the last time for over 7 decades that we're going to see the Moon, Mars in its home sign, and Uranus at the tail end of Aries. And so this is a big thing about you and your life, you and yourself, you and where you want to go, you and who you want to be. And it's coming at a time where we feel wiped out. These eclipses wiped us out with Chiron at the end of Pisces, especially we had the solar eclipse at 15 degrees of Capricorn, and then we had a lunar eclipse at 0 degrees of Leo, squaring Uranus. Our nervous systems, our bodies, our physical reality that we are in massive attack, in a way to look at it, I guess you could say. But I would say that the biggest part of this would be that, do we really have the energy to move forward? Yes, we do. We have Jupiter supporting us that are opening the doors, and Mars is, I don't think, asking for a lot. I think Mars is just asking for the road and the person and the life that you want, and Jupiter will open the door, and Uranus is saying, take the risk, try something different, and go into the unknown, I think, is also another part of this, because Mercury is going to finish here in Aquarius, and it will jump into Pisces, where it'll be for over 60 days. And so this is the end of a Mercury positive moment here. And it kind of sucks, because this Mercury in Aquarius has come at a time to where it is the end of Chiron and Pisces. It is the end of this eclipse season. It has been, a lot of overwhelming, very powerful energy with all the planets direct. So I think it's important for people to note, like, this is a lot. And it is just asking to take the step into the doorway. And everything from there will start to move, but you want to be in that doorway, because when Mars comes into Taurus next week, and Uranus in less than a month comes into Taurus, even though there's some great Earth energy going on, that's much slower. This is the getting yourself into positions that you need to be in your life. And from this point forward, after this week, things slow down. And I know that people don't want to hear that, or they want to achieve more. But this is where, even though the planets are all still direct, we are getting into some massive shadow energy, and Mercury is coming into its fall position. The worst place for Mercury to be is Pisces. Now, it's great for imagination, but it also is going to be there with Chiron and Neptune. And it is going to be all over Neptune during this cycle. It is going to square Jupiter through this cycle. It is going to go to the last degree of the zodiac like Chiron did, and retrograde in March, right when the day that Uranus is coming into Aries right after that. Like, it is insane. So this is that last week before things get even weirder. And I know that people don't want to hear it's going to get any weirder. Things get weirder. So this is where you take advantage to the things that the universe has already put in your lap, and you walk through those doors. If you're expecting something new to come into your life that hasn't already been kind of presented to you, like, I'm not trying to say that's not possible, but I'm really trying to say is that the universe has put all the pieces in your life to put together now, and to walk through them and to take action on them. And if you want change, and you really want to achieve the life you want, you really want to go in the direction you want, it's about hammering that out. I didn't even realize I forgot to plug in the laptop. I will say that I do miss being at work with Craig and Jordan, who help out and make Deep Astrology such a great show. It's really weird doing it on my laptop. But let's go into the charts, because I want to show people it. And I did come up with kind of a cool way to do this. So at least, like, you know, I'm not leaving you guys all in the dust with no chart reading. So, alrighty. So we're going to look at the first chart, which is today's chart, believe it or not. And this is what I'm trying to show people is here's that new moon that just finished up. And look at this. The moon's now in Pisces, which is kind of bringing us into this weirder emotional. I mean, when you have a sun in Aquarius, a moon in Pisces, things are a little bit all over the place still. A new moon just happened. We're out of the eclipse energy, but we are about to face the moon, as the moon itself is going to be crossing over Neptune, crossing over Chiron this week, and then over this huge Mars and Uranus conjunction, which, by the way, this conjunction, of course, you know, is in a major aspect because this is really starting to direct these nodes, right? It's in square to these nodes. So these are these ecliptic destiny nodal spots, right? The moon's ecliptic path. And this is important for us to understand that these nodes definitely deal with very fatalistic aspects. And this is the last time we are in our lives going to see, unless we live another 70 years each, this Mars-Uranus conjunction at the end of Aries, and Mars in its home sign. And Uranus wants to take us to a higher place in our life, and this is whether or not we are bold enough to do that. Aries is about being bold, and I think that this brings a lot of people into kind of a place where they're tested on whether they have the boldness to take action to crazy, radical new situations and see if they have understood what the last decade was of the buildup to taking the biggest, especially when you look at this, when you look at this whole Pluto-Saturn conjunction, South Node starting to build up. Remember, Pluto and Saturn haven't met up in Capricorn since 15, 16 through 18, okay? So we have never seen this Pluto-Saturn in our lives in its home sign of Capricorn with Saturn being there. And plus, remember, they didn't know where Pluto was. So this is a big deal, and this is about risk. And this risk is very connected to this Mars-Uranus element. We've got the two malefics, Mars. If we just go into some medieval astrology here, and old school traditional astrology, Mars is a malefic, and Saturn is a malefic. What are malefics? They're not fun because they're really hard growth. And they're amplified by subconscious planets. Pluto being the deepest, most embedded subconscious parts of ourself that we hide, that are transformational, that bring about massive change once we come to the fruition of understanding it. And it also is very deeply embedded with our habitual kind of nature that I would say is hidden, not in the sense that Neptune habitual is, but Pluto is our desirable, our quest for achieving our root chakra's subconscious vibes. When you connect that to Saturn, this is like a supercharger of desire, but it also is a supercharger of harder work when it comes to reaching for where you want to reach. And the South Node there kind of makes this a very spiritual transit about letting go of how we are approaching, how we are achieving the things we want in our life by redefining the path now and what is in true alignment. Because you can't forget Neptune's at 15, so we got this nice sextile going on, which is rare because they're both happening in their home signs. So there's all this outer planet activity. The three outer planets are on the two malefics. So just think about that for a second. Outer planets deal with subconscious, the invisible, the higher realms. And they're on the malefics. And the malefics it's making massive aspects to. So this is not easy stuff. And people wonder why it's the coldest and the hottest all over the world. Well, in the northern hemisphere, look at how many planets are in the coldest signs. You got Chiron at the end of Pisces, which is the end of winter. You've got Neptune in the winter. You got the moon. You got Mercury in Aquarius, the middle of winter. The sun. We're literally at the middle of winter right now. You got Pluto and Saturn, which are extremely rare transits to come together because they take they're a 33-year cycle, but really it's like 33 to 36-year cycle, okay? That's finishing right now. You have Venus, which is the planet of love and hope and building and creating and relationships and stuff in Capricorn, where it's not like the happiest. And then you even got Jupiter, which is the end of fall, but Jupiter is a hot fire planet. But you got to see that the whole zodiac, really, and Mars is hot in Aries, but there is a lot of the more deeper subconscious energy that's holding us back in a weird way, deep in our most deepest bowels of our soul. We are dealing with the deepest parts of ourself, and whether or not we are going to get out of some of these situations and move forward, and how are we going to purge a lot of the energy that is no longer what is serving where we want to go in our lives anymore. I think that's a big way to kind of look at this. It's like, this is not serving me anymore. This is not on my path. This is not where I want to go. It's going to be hard to face it, because whenever you're dealing with all this Capricorn, this is our traditional elements. You have to break tradition. Uranus and Aries and Pluto and Capricorn, this is the finalization of the Pluto-Uranus square here this next couple weeks. That has been going on since 2012 and technically been going on since 2010 when it actually came in with Uranus and Aries. This is traditional elements of life, ourself, and with Pluto conjunct Saturn with the South Node, these are old traditions ending. So when you get to where you want to go in your life, this is about creating a new world, creating a new self. And people are afraid to do that because of the rules that are embedded in the Pluto deep subconscious that were actually forced in there. Pluto forces itself in there like a freaking, parasitic energy. Pluto is very parasitic because it deeply embeds itself and hides like a tick. And these are traditional elements in our life that we have been embedded with that go back to the last Saturn-Pluto conjunction, or you could even go back to the last time that Pluto was in Capricorn, which was, of course, 1760 through the 1776 and so forth. These are these traditions dying. But are you holding yourself back towards these traditions? And since the last Pluto and Saturn happened in Libra, well, I know, it's almost like there's this whole aspect when it comes to relationships that I would say is the biggest element of this traditional. I can't do that, or I can't do this, especially the last Saturn Pluto was in Libra. I can't, or I won't, or anybody with a lot of Libra or Mars in Libra or Saturn and Pluto in Libra, you'll hear them go, I can't, when they get upset, or I can't when it's like there's this I can't, like there's this too much weighing out. This is now where it's like, why are you saying you can't? You're running your life off some old, dated, subconscious, parasitic, traditional rule system that's still playing itself out in the patriarchy of their universe and the world hundreds of years later that is no longer serving us. That's why Uranus is in the waxing position of this square. What I mean by that is Pluto and Uranus met in Virgo in 64, 65, 66 in the opposition to Saturn and Chiron. And so when Pluto and Uranus met, Uranus is the one that's been moving in the waxing position. And so a waxing square is going to be much stronger hit from Uranus about moving us into the future and letting us let go of these old patriarchy, ways. And in yourself, are you afraid to move into a new world, or are you just going to sit and hold on to something that is tired, dead, and old? And so many ways, this is the ultimate surrender, is whether or not you're going to live the traditional life or the new world life fully. And this is a new world life that is defined by individuals defining what the new world is in the collective by being leaders and showing the way. And that's what I'm here to do as an astrologer. I'm not here to, cater to just the basic astrology elements when I do deep astrology. I'm here to either have people, see what the universe is kind of asking for in the evolutionary astrology model and move into this whole new world, or you have a choice. And the universe ain't gonna get mad at you or anything. But to be honest with you, I think the scariest part of what we got going on, if we come through this week and everything, and what's building up over time, as we've been seeing these planets that have been kind of coming into Capricorn is there is a jail that is building. There is a jail. And that jail is the old world. And people being stuck in that old jail. People being stuck in that old world. And there really is no point to it. There is no need for it. But, you know, what's the point in keeping ourselves in an old jail? I mean, especially when you take a look at, this is a North Node in Cancer. So this is about that the comfort lies not in the jail, but outside of it in your own emotional feeling. But there's a part of ourselves that doesn't want to listen to those emotional feelings because we're scared of the conflict that we have to face within ourselves, we have to face within others, that we have to face within this old patriarchy world, that unfortunately this is a very hard break. It's a very hard break up. It's a very hard breakup from a world that we no longer want to live. It's a very hard breakup from situations that feel like jails, that feel like traps, that don't feel like we're actually achieving the life that we want. So with Pluto in Saturn, it's either, yeah, there's the guy who wants to become the biggest, you know, ruler of the world. And then on the other side, there's the people who know that this is an old, dying structure and that it has to be rebuilt a new way. And it's about becoming the leaders and stepping forward into the future, into that new way, and becoming the understanding of what this new world looks like. Because this is the first time that we've had all these transits happen with all the outer planets that have been understood in consciousness. And we're adding to the element this Chiron at the last degree of Pisces, which is a big deal because that wasn't found until 1977, and this is the first time in our lives we've ever seen physically Chiron enter into the last degree of Pisces, the end of the zodiac, and go through such a weird letting go and pushing point at the end of the Pluto-Uranus square in Capricorn and in Aries. I mean, it really is a new identity and letting go of the old systems. So when we get to Wednesday, really, I think, you know, it's the buildup of this Sun-Jupiter sextile, but that's not exact. So Wednesday's still a little bit weird. The moon's in Pisces. It is going to make some good aspects over to Saturn and Pluto, and it really is not making anything that difficult. It is going to come on top of Neptune Wednesday night, so that might be a little funky. Start to square Jupiter, start doubting or questioning new things that have come in or how all the pieces are coming together. But if you just follow Thursday here, it's nice because we do get into this place of, holy cow, we got the Sun sextile Jupiter, which is great and awesome because now all the options really are shown, and I think that we can see the future very well. Mercury is in 25 degrees of Aquarius, so you know what that means? We've got a Mars-Mercury sextile, so we start to get some energy back. That's why I'm saying, like, this end of the weekend is when the energy starts to kick back up. We get Jupiter and the Sun in a positive element, so the Sun at detriment in Aquarius, where it's in the cold world of Aquarius, gets the fiery love of Jupiter. Just the Sun and Jupiter are best friends. They love each other. They help each other out in many ways. And they're the biggest energies in the whole zodiac. And they're in fire and air signs. And so Jupiter is giving the fire in which the Sun wants bad. And Mercury in Aquarius is very smart and can see a lot of things and is getting the identification of Mars to do something about it. But the moon is going to be here with, in between the midpoint here of Neptune and Chiron, putting us into an emotional position of where we have to do a full surrender. This is the last moon Chiron conjunction in our lives in Pisces, unless we see it, you know, at the end of Pisces in 50 years from now, okay? Which I think I will. I'm 34 now, so 50. But I think I can make it to 94. Or wait, 84? Yeah, 84. I think I can make it to 84 years more, you know? So, but this is what makes me look at Thursday as one of the biggest days. So, you know, is because of the fact that this is some powerful astrology here. And it's powerful astrology to really kind of have this leap and this leap of surrender towards the direction in which you want to go. This is also Mars starting to square the nodes and make some major choices in your destiny and where you're going. Because after this, and I'll show you all, Oh, we want to stay in charts. Oop. Hold on here. Yeah, we want to do this. Oh, there we are. So now we'll go to Friday, and the moon has crossed Chiron. We're done. And it's a moon in Aries now, and Mars is now exactly at 26, squaring the nodes. The sun now has come off Jupiter, even though actually technically Jupiter's at 19, so there's this 2-day cycle here of Thursday and Friday to help us get through one of the hardest transits, I would say, in astrology ever, which is the moon conjunct the last time of Chiron at the last degree of Pisces for 50 years. We are lucky. And there's a reason for that. But the reason is to use this Mars and Uranus energy. It's time to use it. It's kind of like Mars and Uranus is something that you kind of almost want to, especially in Aries with Mars in its home sign, you want to use at the last second. You don't want to really use, you know, it's kind of like the red button, you know, I guess every president gets or whatever. But it is now time to use the direction in life that you want to go and make choices. Because Mercury, if you take a look here, 27 degrees, it's going fast, by the way, too. It's ready to jump into Pisces this weekend. And that's its fall position. Mercury is going to sextile Uranus. These are moments here, the Friday and Saturday, that you want to take advantage of whatever in your life you want to move towards or get out of and take the future and go. This is where you do it because you're not going to see this again. You're done. It's done after this. It's slow. It's going to slow down a lot. And I just would hate for people to go through March, April, and May, and June, and want, sure, there's going to be some intense energy coming, but this is energy that can actually open doorways for you and get you to where you want to go. Very positive. I'd put this on the, you know, top 10, you know, or top 10 days of our lives. You know what I mean? Like, of using energy to get it. This is also the last minute that we're going to see such good energy with Mercury in a positive sign, of air sign in Aquarius, with a nice sextile to Mars, with the moon in Aries, even though the moon in Aries is not going to have a good time because it has to square all this Capricorn, which again is this traditional thing with the south node there, making us feel like, well, maybe I can't do that, or God, that's going to be too hard for me to deal with. Well, you know what? You need to put yourself in the most best self-care emotional place, and that means you're going to have to face some challenging, hard choices, but it's on the other side of that choice that you get what you want. So it's about just facing choices. It's about growing up. I think that that's the biggest thing about this is like no training wheels. You have to grow up now. You have to move to the life that you want, and you have to stop repeating and being in a place that you don't want to be. I think that that is the ultimate lesson of Chiron and Pisces, of ultimate surrender, of surrendering to things that just don't make sense anymore on your long-term path and that are actually spiritually holding you back. When we go to Saturday, we do see the moon still in squares, and it will square Saturn, so that's going to be some tests. But here's Mercury and Uranus getting some very big excitement. Mars still squaring the nodes, but coming off that square. But the big news really is going to be the transition here of Mercury into Pisces, because it's going to happen instantaneously. And this is the last moment here, and it's even tougher on Saturday because now the Sun and Jupiter are a degree off, right? Mercury's at this last degree here, kind of almost with Uranus there going, okay, I'm getting the insights, but like, you know, it's like, it's pretty intense. And Mars is right on top of this, because when we go to Sunday, it's already happened. Mercury's in Pisces. Goes Saturday night. And I'm sorry to say, but it's hard to think, even though you get this huge insight by Uranus on Saturday, and even though we are going to see this massive, massive conjunction, right? That's really beautiful, of the moon, Mars, and Uranus, to really emotionally charge the future of who we want to be. You know, it's almost like you want to set yourself up. That's the completion point, if that makes sense. Like, you are doing it at this point. You are in it. But if you choose to do it on the day when Mercury enters Pisces through a 60 plus day cycle, I don't, it's confusing, or you might come into huge self-doubt, or, more importantly, we are in a place where our mind, our soul, and our handicapped, humbling, difficult elements we're all going through in our life are amplified. And so now we're using our willpower to just even get through a day, or we've used it to move in the direction we want in our lives. And interesting that the moon will meet and square the nodes with Mars and Uranus. So I think Sunday is a day of like either A, it feels like you're in that new world, or you have reached a place to where this is the path you have chosen, and is this really the boat that you've wanted? You will use the next most of this year to process that, because Mercury is going to be in the weirdest retrograde I've ever seen in my life. As being an astrologer and doing my research, we have never seen a Mercury retrograde on this. I don't even want to call it horrific. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to give people the truth here, that this is not going to be a fun Mercury retrograde. It is going to suck royal ass, just because it is going to be confusing and it is rearranging the backgrounds of the universe in order for us to be on that path, and for those on that new path. But for those that choose to be in jail or stay in old traditional ways, or not step into our power of what we know and our higher self and what God is asking for. Uranus and Neptune, there's this semi-sextile, and Mars and Uranus and the moon are in that, or it's actually semi-square, sorry. And more importantly, we've got this Uranus-Neptune energy of really raising to a higher vibration in our life, but living kind of the old way and afraid to step into something you've never done before, or go into a place that's got a lot of risk as far as you and pushing the world that you want to go to, is actually kind of what God is asking for this big change on the new earth. Now, when we go to the last day I'm going to cover here, Monday, the moon comes in Taurus. That grounds things out. Now, the moon is exalted in Taurus, so that's positive, making great aspects over to Venus. And I think that we could feel settled if we feel like we've made the commitments to the path that we feel is the best for us. All the planets are still direct, and we are getting ready for the Sun and Moon square, which will happen Tuesday, but we are going to have this Mars-Uranus that's building up, and this is it. I mean, I guess you could say you will have one more last chance on next week, but that's pushing the red button. And that Mars and Uranus can cause chaotic, rebellious kind of fight club nature, especially at the last degrees of Aries, and especially with the semi-square to Neptune. And, with the moon in Taurus, it's definitely going to get a big shock from the sun in Aquarius. We got to remember that the moon is exalted and the sun is at detriment of, do I feel like I am living my best life into the future, or do I feel that it is not good enough? And then some people will choose to just push the crazy button. And with Neptune in Pisces, I mean, it's maybe illogical. So anyway, I just wanted to send out my best energy to you all and do this deep astrology, and let you all know, like, this is the big deal here. And I just wanted to give you this info, and make sure that you check out my website, theleoking.com. Of course, we're doing this awesome school at highvibe.tv, the Lightworker School. We're taking the pre-registration right now. We're taking payment plans. And then on Amazon, you guys helped me become the #1 bestseller for astrology books on Amazon, but I went to #2. So if you guys can help keep it at #1, I truly appreciate it. You can get my astrology guide, the 2019 Leo King. There's 2 of them out there, so don't get fooled. Do the one that says Topics Media Lab, not the one that just says Topics. Trust me, it's on Prime. This thing is on Prime. It'll get shipped to you tomorrow. It's that fast. So if it says unavailable, you're on the wrong one, and keep looking. I appreciate you all. I'm sending you all my best, sending you all the love, and I'll talk to y'all later.